Today's video is going to be about Twitch THOTS.
Today we're going to talk about thoughts.
Twitch thought rant.
How's this allowed? Wait, Twitch, that's naked.
Dear Twitch THOTS, just use Chaturbate or Pornhub.
Thank you so much for masturbating over my stream and donating $2,000, you virgin. Let me go ahead and write you down on the board right here.
And as long as she's within the guidelines, which it seems like she is, well, I assume that she's in the guidelines because she hasn't been banned, and let her do her thing. You know, I'm not here to hate on that. That is a no.
Can you guess what we're talking about today? Hey there, how are you? My name is Ira and I welcome you to my channel where I make video essays about different topics while painting something. Today we will be discussing Twitch THOTS, or, as the term is known academically, the phenomenon of a censored non-sexual platform featuring sexually suggestive streamers. We will try to find out why people seem to have such a problem with these streamers and also touch on a couple of other topics that have to do with female creators and representation in the gaming sphere, so bear with me, and without any further ado, let's paint an essay. I'd like to preface this video essay by stating that I believe people are free to do what they want with their bodies. I don't believe that any person in general, and women in particular, should be judged for the way they choose to portray and express their sexuality. Regardless of their preferences on how much of their body they choose to cover and how many sexual experiences they had or have. Today's society is becoming ever more accepting of sexual liberation, as well as sex workers. And while there is certainly room for progress, especially regarding the latter, cam platforms and uncensored social media platforms such as OnlyFans have been becoming more mainstream, and the stigma around the individuals on these platforms is lessening, which I personally think is a great thing. It is mainly one corner of the internet that makes my stance quite murky and causes me to be unsure of my opinion, which is fine because it's a chance to grow and explore, so in the aims of doing just that, I decided to explore today's topic. A little fact about me. I enjoy gaming. Now, this definitely doesn't make me #not like other girls, as video games are a common thing to enjoy regardless of gender. But I mentioned this fact about myself because when in the past people have suggested I should stream on platforms such as Twitch, I would often reply that I'm anxious about being branded as a Twitch thought, regardless of my choice of apparel or skills, which, might I add, neither are remotely impressive. Recently, I have come to the opinion that this very notion is extremely damaging to female gamers, many of whom are very skilled and impressive and fun to watch, and to female expressions of sexuality in general, because it harbors the notion that all female streamers in the gaming community use their sexuality to promote themselves, even if they're not trying to do that at all. The relationship between the world of gaming and female representation in the community and in video games in general had long been complicated. A good example of the latter is the outrage in which Battlefield 5 was received by many in the gaming community because of DICE's decision to include a female character in their new game and their choice of dedicating a considerable chunk of the trailer focusing on said character. The criticism regarding this new character was for the most part framed as concern that this character greatly compromises the historical accuracy of the game, as its theme was World War II. Critics said that since women didn't fight in World War II, this was deemed as an outrageous marketing ploy to gain some woke tokens at the expense of the plot.
This once beloved franchise appears to have finally caved into progressive politics and SJW agendas, which really shouldn't be that surprising since the game's developer DICE is located in Sweden, or Swedenistan, which is what the local Muslim invaders prefer to call their newfound home. Sad to see a once great nation like Sweden, descendants of fucking Vikings by the way, well, it's sad to see recently that the Swedes aren't the confident, defensive, warrior pirates their ancestors used to be. No, modern Swedes are beta male cucks, who are so riddled with white guilt and socialist tendencies, basically they're communists, and apparently now they're allowing left-wing politics to take over their country and their home and their companies, their businesses, and now their video games. And along with open borders and unlimited immigration, social justice warriors also of course push for diversity and representation, which really means they want to put more women and minorities in
What? And while for me personally, historical accuracy is not the catalyst to what makes a game good or exciting, I understand that for some people it might be. In reality, the Battlefield games as a whole weren't known to exactly be historically accurate, from battle locations to the exclusion of certain nations to weapons the players can choose from and so on.
I don't know if any of you have played Battlefield before, but realism isn't exactly its strong suit. The The gameplay has never been even remotely realistic to what an actual war is looking like or representing. So how upset can people really get about that?
These were for the most part accepted by players, as the decision to compromise historical accuracy was understood as a means to improve gameplay. The straw that broke the camel's back then seems to be the introduction of this female lead, so despite of the historical inaccuracy flag, the massive criticism did feel a tad sexist, although to be fair, I can also agree that the decision to include a female character did come across as disingenuous and likely was an attempt at woke tokens, as in general video games with a female lead were still popular among male players before the release of Battlefield 5, and while some argue that that is due to the sexualization of these characters, I don't believe that's the case. A couple of good examples would be the Tomb Raider reboot games, which show a very different Lara Croft, and Ciri from The Witcher 3. The topic of female characters in video games is, in my opinion, a fascinating topic that I would probably make a dedicated video on in the future, but the topic of today's video is female players and the criticism around them, so I won't digress any further and let's dive right in. Female video game streamers often received mixed reviews from the community and from the viewers. While other members of the streaming community simply enjoy their content and appreciate them as streamers, within the viewers there are always those who either encourage them to portray themselves in a manner that is more sexually suggestive, or give them a considerable amount of hate for being sexually suggestive, at times even when this criticism isn't really warranted in my opinion. That being said, it is very obvious that many female streamers definitely do take advantage of their appearance and sexual appeal to promote themselves on these platforms, and while their channels definitely do grow quite fast, their image is often tainted with the branding as a Twitch thought. Some are bestowed this branding for the simple reason that their shirts are tight or pants are short, when it seems to just be their choice of apparel and not done with the aims of attracting that kind of attention. In fact, this leads to many streamers to pay closer attention to what they wear and how they look in general on their streams to avoid these insinuations and focus their audience's attention on their gameplay. While surely there is a considerable amount of streamers who wear baggy clothes because that is their taste, and others wear tighter clothes because they like them and there really isn't more to the story there, it is a selection of streamers that stand out for their choice of apparel as well as their behavior on stream, both of which are calculated choices made to attract the attention of their viewers on more than just their gaming, and subsequently receive criticism from their fellow streamers. Best known examples would be the more tame Alinity and the full-on bikini mode Zoe Burger, who have taken advantage of their appearances, in different ways granted, but have received an extreme amount of backlash each. Zoe's conduct on her platform was definitely more obvious, so let's start with her. Zoe Burger began streaming on Twitch around 2013, and she became quite popular relatively fast. While I couldn't find any archived videos of her streams, we can guess that they were definitely on the risque side, since she was banned from Twitch not once, not twice, but 4 times between 2013 and 2016 before finally deciding to leave the platform to start streaming on YouTube instead, where her streams consisted of, well, this. Her channel gained a lot of traction in a very short amount of time, and the reactions to her presence on the platform varied from advocating for her under the notion that what she is doing isn't hurting anyone and people are being overly critical of her, to many creators having a huge issue with her content. But even more so, took issue with the fact that her content was promoted by YouTube, despite of clearly going against its community guidelines. The criticism isn't what seemed to have ended Zoe's rapid rise on YouTube, but rather the route to her downfall was the same thing that jump-started her YouTube career in the first place. As she reached 1 million subs, she didn't follow through on her promise of providing her subs with nudes, and since her content had a very specific appeal, when it became clear she wasn't going to take her content any further, viewers felt they got enough of what she was offering and her subs began dropping. But that didn't stop people from criticizing her rather harshly. While Zoe is, let's say, more on the nose, other female streamers who have been branded as Twitch THOTS definitely try to have more nuance. Let's take Alinity, for example. Her content as a whole is not necessarily sexual, and for the most part, she doesn't parade her assets around as much as the criticism around her will have you believe. She definitely does, don't get me wrong, but it's not like it's a daily occurrence. The fact that, for the most part, her content is safe for work content, sprinkled with some moments of calculated and opportune poses and instances, Alinity could play coy about the validity of her image. However, her situation with PewDiePie in 2019 painted her as someone who is trying to have her cake and eat it too. PewDiePie made a video in which he was testing an eye tracker.
Oh my god, you see what happens? This is so annoying. Stupid Twitch thoughts.
Which Alinity viewed on her stream and reacted to by threatening to copy strike his video.
Twitch thoughts. I just feel like they win over me, okay? And they're not gonna win over me. Stupid Twitch thoughts. No.
Seriously? He just said that? I'm gonna copy strike this guy.
despite of the fact that 1, it was clearly fair use, and 2, it wasn't even her on the screen as he said what seems to have triggered her. PewDiePie apologized to her for using that word and said he will be more mindful of this term in the future, but Alinity ended up copy striking him regardless. This caused her to get her fair share of backlash for abusing the copyright system, and she tried to defend herself by saying that the word thought is harmful to female players as they are being harassed and sexualized regardless just because of their gender. Although her statement is definitely true in numerous cases, many, including PewDiePie himself, argued that it doesn't really apply to her because she knowingly and purposefully sexualizes herself.
It's as if she's so used to getting everything done her way that she just keeps pushing this victim narrative. Like, if I seem like a victim enough, maybe they'll turn around eventually. She just keeps pushing and pushing. But I know you're not that dumb that you're not aware of what you're doing. Showing your underwear on stream, that's our fault, right? And then clicking on full screen right after. Bending over with your butt on camera, that's our fault, right? Eating a popsicle down your throat on camera, that's our fault, right? Because you had a sore in your mouth. That's why you did it, right? Oh, you're just playing games with the shortest skirt ever. That's our fault for looking at it in any sexual way, right? Oh, guys, I am just adjusting my camera right now. I'm completely unaware of what else is going on. If you have any sort of sexual intention towards this, that's our fault. Oh, sorry, guys. I'm just pushing my bra together to show how a push-up bra works. That's your fault for seeing anything sexual in that. How dare you? And I don't even have a problem with it. And in my video when I said I wasn't even calling that out. So for you to do all these things, right? And then for you to not accept my apology when I said sorry twice, what do you want?
Now, that's not to say she deserved any mistreatment and certainly not being harassed. Some people interpreted PewDiePie's points as she's asking for it. Personally, I don't think that interpretation is correct, and in my opinion, these people missed the point. What he was saying, in my opinion, is that you can go on deliberately making accidental sexually suggestive content and then say you are unjustly sexualized. And I have to say I agree. While many female streamers definitely do get harassed just because they are female streamers, when their content is not sexual in the least, and while on the other side of the scale, we have streamers who are very explicit with their content because they understand it benefits them, but are aware of the type of attention their content gets, and as a result understand the kind of criticism they will receive. It is the in-between that shows plenty of creators trying to get the benefits that come with being sexually suggestive without the consequent criticism. And in my opinion, Alinity fits within that group. Streamers like her seem to try to take advantage of the system but reject any negative consequence. Perhaps more blatantly, they perpetuate the stereotype, benefit from it, and then use it to shield themselves from critique, which isn't fair for their viewers and definitely not fair to other female streamers who don't participate in these behaviors and don't use their sexuality, but can sometimes be thrown in with a bunch that do. I've stated in the beginning of the video that I genuinely believe people shouldn't be judged for their sexuality and the manner in which this sexuality is expressed. Giving that statement, my judgment of a certain type of streamers can definitely come across as hypocritical. If people are free to do what they want, then why do people have a problem with individuals that choose to express themselves in a sexually suggestive manner and profit from it? Well, I believe that the first point we need to address is their choice of platform. I've mentioned that suggestive content isn't allowed on Twitch or YouTube, and so if one wants to make suggestive content, then certainly uncensored platforms are the more appropriate choice. Another plus to making this content on an uncensored platform is that no one would care or criticize them. While some claim that they shouldn't be criticized regardless because people should be free to wear and do what they want on the internet as long as they aren't hurting anyone, the validity of the criticism against these streamers stems mainly from the fact that not only are they breaching the guidelines, but they are also making the playing field uneven by introducing the appeal of sex to their platform instead of growing it by appealing to the audience with their skills or humor or character and so on. The second point I'd like to address is why these streamers stick around on Twitch and YouTube. Firstly, it is no secret that Twitch looks the other way when some streamers break the community guidelines, and this is something illustrated by Alinity herself.
Imagine you guys, you stream for 5 years, full time. I've gotten drunk, I've fallen, my butt has shown, you know, and Twitch has been behind my back the whole time. Like, hey, it's okay, you know, just delete the clips, you know, we're cool. I've been good with Twitch. I've never even had a 24-hour suspension. I've never had a suspension on Twitch.
This is understandably infuriating to many since Twitch is known to be extremely unforgiving to the majority of their streamers when it comes to their guidelines, and many streamers have had their platforms suspended for far less. Zoe Berger was admittedly far more scandalous in her disregard for the guidelines, and even though she was banned by Twitch 4 times, it took a lot for her to be banned each time considering she's been on the platform for 3 years. So if people want to watch it and the platform itself condones it, even if just for a period of time, then why would the creator leave to a different platform that is arguably more competitive? On an uncensored platform, there are plenty more creators providing the same kind of content that it takes a lot more to stand out. Another possible theory is that these streamers don't want to be affiliated with uncensored platforms. And this is an opinion, I may very well be wrong, but it seems like in their mind, being a controversial Twitch streamer is classier than being a mild cam streamer. Because Twitch is associated with gaming and cam platforms are associated with sex work. And this is even more infuriating because it gives the notion that their advocacy for sexual liberation and expressing yourself through your body and releasing the stigma on streamers who stream in their bikinis is really phony, because it's followed by the insinuation that, what, being associated with sex work? Yeah, no thank you. In reality, most people who criticize suggestive streamers say themselves that had they made the same content on an explicit platform, they would have had nothing but respect for them.
Let me just preface this by saying there's nothing wrong with being an attractive woman on Twitch or the internet. I have nothing wrong with women who sell sex off of Twitch, like porn stars or Belle Delphine type people. You know, if you're a cam girl off of Twitch, you're cool with me and you're a cool dude, and I commend your work because you're an honest person. What I have a problem with are streams that are basically glorified cam girl streams disguising themselves as gameplay on Twitch.
And I completely agree. There is absolutely nothing wrong with monetizing on your sexuality as long as you're of age and that's what you want to do. And if you can make a good living from that, then more power to you. The beauty in these platforms is that you're in control in regards to how far you want to go with your content. I mean, there still are guidelines, but they're mostly to prevent illegal things from taking place. But you can still be as tame as you want or as explicit as you want. You can be a successful cam girl by reading poetry in your pajama if that's your thing, or by playing video games in your bikini. The thing is that what makes you scandalous on Twitch will definitely not be provocative on OnlyFans or campsites, which means less money and a smaller platform. For this reason, I don't believe the controversy about Twitch Thoughts has anything to do with sexual liberation or the ability to wear whatever you want without judgment. Because if that was the point these streamers were trying to make, they would have streamed on a more appropriate platform and then speak about the importance of releasing the stigma around said platforms. Instead, they stick to platforms such as Twitch, which have guidelines for a reason, defy the guidelines, and then claim victimhood when people have a problem with it. Frankly, it is to be expected that there will always be people who toe the line to see how far they can go, especially if it benefits them. At this point, it becomes a bit irrelevant whether or not it's wrong, and the questions we are left with is, why is this content so popular, and why toeing the line is allowed in the first place? It can definitely be claimed that it's silly to be mad at those who take advantage of their physicality on streaming platforms or social media in general. At the end of the day, there is only a supply because there is a demand. And some will even assert that the demand comes predominantly from the same population who criticizes these women in the first place, as well as from the platform, which allows this content to thrive because it does bring more traction to the site. Those who defend the suggestive streamers assert that people want to see hot streamers, but become very angry when these streamers become popular too fast, and that it's essentially like saying, I want you to provide something, but I don't want you to benefit from it. I don't believe that is necessarily the case, since there is a distinction in the source of the demand for this content and the criticism of it. The former comes primarily from the viewers, while the latter primarily from fellow streamers. Viewers want to see specific content from female creators. Some creators cater to this demand. The content they make goes against the community guidelines of the platform on which they create their content. The platform allows some of them to make this content, by so allowing them to grow their influence faster than creators who play fair and respect those guidelines. In this way, they are given an unjust advantage, which causes fellow streamers to criticize this behavior. The creators who respect the guidelines seem to suffer by being disadvantaged because their growth will be undoubtedly slower in most cases. And in regards to female streamers who respect the guidelines and don't wish to bring attention to anything but their skills or personality, they still have to deal with the fact that some viewers will try to sexualize them and encourage them to show more or act differently when they are on a platform that wasn't meant to provide this kind of content in the first place. The problem people have with Twitch Thoughts, then, is not necessarily how much skin they show, nor their suggestive behavior, but rather their choice of platform, which for many reasons is inappropriate, at least in regards to some aspects of their content, as well as how their conduct negatively affects other creators on these platforms. If so, does the outrage towards these suggestive streamers stem from sexism or hatred for women in the gaming sphere? Well, I'm sure for some people it does to some extent, but in my opinion, misogyny isn't the catalyst here. There is more to debate regarding the role of sexism and criticism towards female representations in the gaming world for example, the inclusion of female characters in specific games, but even there, sexism doesn't seem to be the main contributor. Instead, in regards to heavily criticized female streamers, sexism appears to be used as a scapegoat or a shield from what, in my opinion, is irrelevant debate. Does this content belong on censored, age-restricted platforms? Thank you very much for making it to the end of this video. I hope that you found the topic interesting, and I hope that you enjoyed the painting process of this piece. I was trying to go for a comicsy vibe, hence the harsh black lines. It's not really my favorite work, to be honest. I do really like the red pillow. I think it came out really good. Anyway, hit the like if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing to my channel if you enjoy this type of content. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.